This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 415. This is your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I'm your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my, I wish I could say a Bad Batch coffee mug. I don't have one of those, but what we do have is the third Coffee with Kenobi this week because we're trying to give you up-to-the-minute reviews and conversation about Star Wars, The Bad Batch, the brand new animated series from Lucasfilm, and I am having so much fun with it. I hope you are as well. Tom Gross is going to join me as we talk about the second episode, Cut and Run. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Returning for a cup of coffee to discuss Cut and Run, the second episode in Season 1 of The Bad Batch. I'm assuming it's Season 1. I don't know how many seasons there are going to be. What I do know is that Tom Gross is here to talk about this really super cool episode. Tom, welcome back to the show.
Oh, yes. Excited to talk about this, and thank you. It's always good to be back on the show.
And hopefully I'll have better adjectives than really super cool show. Hopefully my thesaurus I will remove the dust from it and talk about this.
Yeah,
okay, so right away, overall impressions on this episode, and then a letter grade.
And a letter grade. Okay, awesome. Well, this so far, what I've really liked about, really the first two episodes, but speaking specifically about this one, I've enjoyed the charming humor, the interplay between the characters. So far, the storyline is, it's enticing. I did get a little confused in this one, but I'm sure we'll be able to flesh that out. But I've really enjoyed this. I'm not a person who typically, as you know, and I'm sure many of our listeners know, I'm not a huge fan of children in shows. It's usually, live stage. I'm not a big fan of that. But I am really enjoying the character Omega. So overall impression is it's a thumbs up for me on many levels, and I give this episode an A.
Okay. I really like this episode. In fact, I like it more than the premiere. I like the premiere, but as I said last week, and as I said on my review on coffeewithkenobi.com, the first 15 minutes of the first episode is perfection, mostly because of Kanan Jarrus / Caleb Doom. And then that was such an emotional high for me that nothing after that really could have lived up to it. And I thought it was a little long. This one is a much more of a normal series or episode length. I think there's some really great emotional beats here, and I see some significant development in Hunter. So I'm going to give this one a solid A as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first episode. To me, the opening sequence, and at the end of the show, you're going to hear a quick little review that me, Tom, and my son Mason Zare did, where I reveal this there too. But the opening sequence, when Omega walks down the ramp of the ship, she's never seen the sun before like this. I mean, when you grow up on Camino, you're never going to see the sun because of the inclement weather and the clouds that are always there. She's never been to space. We saw at the end of the last one. But then, Tom, she walks down that ramp, and she touches the ground and the dirt and the earth, for lack of a better word, and they laugh and say, well, that's just dirt, but she is so overwhelmed. And just the beauty of nature and the joy of life here for someone who is a clone was very overwhelming to me, almost to the degree of getting choked up.
It was great. And I wrote down almost exactly to the word what you put. I said the discovery of dirt and earth. And I sat there thinking, wait a minute, where? And I struggled. It was kind of silly. I was like, why doesn't she know that? And I'm like, oh, she lives on a water planet. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I 100% agree. It was a really touching moment. And it made me think of some other instances in the Star Wars mythology like where Rey ends up at, is it Takodana, where she walks out and she just looks across the water and the trees, and she has the same kind of look. It's not as profound as Omega's experience, but then even, Luke going to Mos Eisley and seeing people and seeing stuff and like a crowded, he seemed, I don't know, what it makes me think of is a definite movement of growth in a character when they have that moment. It's like a coming of age or of some sort where, the setting changes who they are. And it was beautiful, but there's other things that she learns here later on in the show that is very specific to being on a planet with Earth. But I agree. That was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it's just such a wonderful sense of wonder of just being somewhere that you've never been and experiencing life in a way you never have before. It reminds me of when Rey leaves Jakku, and she says, "I've never seen so much green before." I just find things like that very, very touching. It also it could be somewhat sad if you let it go that way in your route, but we don't have time for that because right away we find out why they're on this planet. The planet's name is, let me see, it's I've got it right here. I wrote it down. Seleucami? Yeah, Saleucami. Seleucami. I think they pronounce it Seleucami. Where we meet a clone that was known as, he's actually from season 2 of the Clone Wars. The episode was called The Deserter, and his name is Cut. It was very cool to see him. At first I thought maybe he was going to be Gregor, but that's not the right planet. And his sideburns, he's got his family, his wife is a Twi'lek. I believe her name is Sue. They have 2 children. Okay, yeah. Tom, tell me sort of your impressions of this mini reunion and what you noticed.
Well, so this is where I got confused. So let me go there. I wasn't sure. So I thought they were coming here to learn or get insight as to how to help Crosshair. Yeah. And the conversation, at least that I heard, did not so much. I mean, it was definitely noted that Crosshair was gone. And so they talked about that, but then it turned to the chain codes and getting off planet and things like that. So I got a little confused there, but let me now answer your question. I thought it was really cool because when not episode 2, but season 2 of the Clone Wars, when we meet these characters, I seem to have these emotional feelings that I was a little upset that this clone deserted, and he's not standing up for his brothers, and he's not being the soldier that he was meant to be. And that episode changes that a little bit, but here in the return, and clearly they've seen Cut since when last time we've seen him, but I thought it was very, profound how, now that we know and we understand the inhibitor chip and what happens to clones after Order 66, it felt there was such a sense of peace that Cut had created for himself and his wife, and then of course his children. Everything just seemed happy for a moment when they got there, and so I don't know if that addresses the question, but those are kind of the feelings that I had at that time.
Well, the music is very, very light, almost like a quaint Disney film where people are just enjoying themselves in nature, and I mean that is a high level of praise.
Right.
Yeah, I was instantly enchanted by Star Wars. Has always had this wonderful kind of under the radar, not overt message of the importance of family, but this is not under the radar. This is like flat in your face, showing a nuclear family and showing the joy, the nature. They have, barbed wire fences to keep, the reeks out, but they have this wonderful community. And again, Wrecker impresses me because he basically is like the really super cool, silly uncle that's really, and the kids run up and they see him. Hey, remember me, kids? And they have so much fun with that. Cut instantly enraptured me, and I don't remember him from that episode. I don't remember season 2 of Clone Wars very well at all. That's like the one that's sort of not as strong in my memory bank. So I'll have to do something about that. But I really like seeing this warrior. He's a clone, so he's a fighter. He knows his stuff. He can handle himself on the battlefield. But he's so strong because of his strength of his heart, the way he nurtures the children, the way he welcomes the group, and the way he worries about his family. In fact, several times he talks about, I got more important things to worry about. And he's talking about his family. Yeah. I really, really like this. I mean, the Bad Batch is family too, but this is just a classic nuclear family. I found it so refreshing.
He was much more... he's much more worldly. Yeah, worldly and calm in this. I seem to remember him being very defensive in the Clone Wars season 2, because of course he's going to be questioned. He's scared. Himself. He's scared that people are going to come and take him away and all of that for abandoning. But he is a completely different person. And we'll probably talk about this later, or maybe this is the transition to that. The thing that I really liked about this was when, I'll say it, but I think we'll talk later. When Hunter gets a little short with Omega, and Cut says, that's not how you talk to children.
Are you talking about when she gets out of the fence and she?
Yes.
Yeah. We can talk about that now. Yes. I mean, Omega is gets to play with kids. She's never probably seen kids, and she doesn't know how to play catch. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, talk about a classic archetypal thing that kids do. And even the caveman played with balls. That's actually documented in my World Book Encyclopedia.
Nice.
That was
good reference.
Was sarcasm, everyone. And yes, good reference.
Up to date.
Indeed. Yes. So again, she's got this wonderful interest in life, but this also incredible innocence that because she's older than someone who would not know these things, but because she's been so sheltered on Camino. This happens, and then she gets excited and brave. She wants to get the ball. And then we have that moment where the Reek comes out, and they actually do a wonderful job of creating tension and suspense. Yeah. I love how Sue runs outside gracefully, climbs to the rooftop with her sniper rifle, and takes care of this wild animal without killing it. I think that was pretty neat, too.
I thought that was super important. Really important. And the way she climbed up to the top, it's like they've done this before.
Exactly.
I mean, clearly they've got the fencing, and the kids certainly knew, oh, you don't go out there, and that didn't register with Omega. And so I was a little afraid that maybe Hunter would shoot the Reek, but clearly he knows the protocol. And you scare the Reek away. Life is precious. Life is important. And just because it's a dangerous animal doesn't mean that you have to just kill it to keep yourself safe. But yeah, so then that leads to the point where, Hunter says to him, hey, you don't go out there, and takes more of a soldier or a soldier leader position with her. Now it's not terrible. It's not like he's screaming and yelling at her.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't mean.
But Cut certainly recognizes that this isn't how you teach children, and he steps in and he's super calm, and it's a teaching moment for both of them. So he talks to he says, Hunter, this is how you do it, and kneels down. First question, are you okay? And it just, as a parent, I've seen myself in both positions. I've been the hunter, and I've been not the hunter. I've been Hunter, and I've been Cut in different places, and I saw kind of myself in that position where I learned how to take a situation, and instead of yelling at my children, try to remain calm inside as a dad, and take it into a learning situation where you first take concern and explain why it was wrong. And I don't know, that moment was just really, really touching, and I thought, looking forward, I believe that that's going to have quite a bit of positive consequence.
Yes. They'll go back to that. I was very moved by this, and especially as a dad, and I was very moved by the compassion, by the empathy. The first thing he did was make sure she was okay. Hey, let's look you over. So he was affirming her feelings.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't trying to get her to feel less than for how she felt. He made sure she was okay. He hugged her, and then he picks her up and he carries her.
Yeah.
I just thought that was he's such a great example of a strong man and a father. And it was just cool to see these mighty warriors, because the Bad Batch, they're incredible warriors. And they have empathy and compassion, obviously, but they don't know how to raise a child. But he does. Cut does. And I just thought that was so key, and certainly planted some seeds in Hunter, because they're clearly setting him up to be something of a father figure. And then we transition to, we've got a little mission now, which leads to a wonderful 10, 15 minutes or so of wonderful suspense, where to get off this planet, they have to get basically a data card, and they have to get a code that is put on there, a chain code, so that they are allowed to leave the planet. And they, at one point in time, they even talk about the fact that how ironic it is that we all had numbers, and now everybody else is lining up to get a number. But we know that that's a pretty scary thing.
Absolutely. There's so many. This is the kind of thing. This scene, this event that's happening, where the Empire is coming in and changing things. First of all, I found it extremely awkward or frightening to watch clones be transitioned into like the role of stormtroopers. Mm-hmm. Here throughout the entire Clone War, the clones were the liberators. They were the ones that came to free planets and to, open it up. But the inhibitor chip and all of the brainwashing, has completely transferred what a clone means when you see one, and and it's frightening. And it was really disconcerting. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Disconcerting to watch them in that position. And I started seeing stormtroopers instead of clones. But this is what I wanted to see, the beginning. How did it all start? Well, here it is. And it also reminded me of some scenes in Solo, because we're not too far away from that in the timeline. And so it's how we are getting to see how these planets transitioned from, Republic territories to territories of the Empire. And I found that to be really eye-opening. I'm really having a hard time staying focused tonight.
I understand. There's kind of a lot to think about in a small amount of time. I also got some very distinct Lothal and Rebels vibes, and they were trying to negotiate how to get off the planet. I thought that was a kind of fun thing, and I believe the actor who voiced that small purple creature, I can't think of the species right now, I believe it's the same actor who is Asajj Ventress.
Oh, is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, very cool. I love those connections.
So anything you want to say about, before we get to the big action sequence, about the sort of the plot twist with the chain code? Actually, there is something kind of crucial. Hunter makes a decision. Tell us about the decision that Hunter makes about Omega and her future, and sort of what you took from that.
Yeah, it made me think that when he watched the way Cut had talked to her in such a different manner that he had never seen him, never even thought, it made me think at that moment, is that when he decided, and his decision was, Omega's going to go off planet with Cut and his family. Because she has no business in his mind of being in the dangerous situation that the Bad Batch will lead her into. I was not surprised to see that, but at the same time I was, because I really thought that he was making headway with her. I loved the moments, and now I'm starting to wonder if I blended this with the last episode, but where she mimics him. Was that first episode? She does the hand gestures and all of that. But so they'd had that moment, and he had noticed, he saw what was going on. And so I don't know what struck him in that moment because he was willing to take her on when they were in Camino, and he knew he needed to get her off of Camino. But what's different now, other than, oh, here's Cut, who's a legit father. I'm in no position for that. I'm going to put her into danger. And so we need to get, there needs to be 5 chain codes, not just 4.
If there's a family dynamic version of a hero's journey, this is Hunter's refusal of the call. I'm not able. I'm not worthy. I'm not capable of raising this child. I'm a soldier. She won't be safe. It's the Peter Parker trope of, I can't do anything. I can't be with Mary Jane because she won't be safe. Denying this companionship. Well, it's a very different kind of companionship, but denying being a father figure to Omega because you think it's going to be dangerous, which of course it will be. But as we know, she is a modified clone as well.
Yeah.
So, but it's still brave. I think in Hunter's mind it's brave, but he also knows it's not the right thing to do. But he doesn't tell her. He doesn't tell her about that decision. Why? What do you think about that?
Well, I think definitely he has created a relationship with her that was growing. And so I wonder if he just felt like he couldn't face her. Like, it's almost like he was afraid of saying, that it might communicate to her that we don't want you. And that, I don't think that's the case. I think that he certainly had a connection, or has a connection with Omega, and he didn't want her to feel like it wasn't that he doesn't want her, he just didn't want her to be in danger.
Exactly.
And so maybe that's, why he chose to keep it secret to the last minute.
And when they have the conversation later in the show, I think it's pretty moving. But before we get to that, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the second half of Cut and Run. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
If you are getting ready to plan that Walt Disney World or Disneyland vacation, look no further than MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. And it is a no-cost, no-obligation quote. That's right. You can have them help you set up your vacation exactly how you want to make it work for you and your family. They'll give you all kinds of tips about what is the best day to go to what parks, how to use the park reservation system on either coast, and what the lines are like and what that means for you as far as planning and getting there when the park opens. And whether you are an experienced vacation planner or you are a first-timer, they can help you as well. They contact you throughout the trip to make sure things are going well, to give you suggestions and advice, or answer any questions that you might have, and you will have them when you're traveling on these amazing vacations. And there's nothing better than having Becky Mankin and her team at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel to help you as you go along. Becky Mankin and her team are fantastic, and I use them both for travel, for Coffee with Kenobi, and for my family vacation. So if you feel safe and comfortable traveling, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel will help you get to the Disney theme parks, the cruise lines when they open, the future Star Wars Halcyon, the Galactic Star Cruiser, and of course, Celebration 2022 in Anaheim. If you have any questions or want to go ahead and get a free, no obligation quote, please be sure to go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel and let them know that Dan Z and Coffee with Kenobi sent you. We are back talking about Cut and Run, the second episode in season 1 of The Bad Batch. Now that we know that they all need to get chain codes, then we move into the other tandem. They become kind of a fun little duo in their own right, and I'm talking about Echo and your buddy Tech. Now, their dynamic here is pretty interesting. They have this idea of, hey, let's let our ship get captured. They'll think it was abandoned, that we can sneak into the camp. But their interplay, Tom, I actually thought about you a lot because I know how much you like Tech. I thought that was pretty cool, and I like the way they work together.
I do too, and I feel like there's in a way they have a lot in common with Echo's transformation into kind of more of a tech person. He's got the arm that can plug into the systems and all of that, but he doesn't have the brain, whereas Tech has the brain and the ability to hack into things. Although I think I saw a description somewhere of the two where they actually give Echo. They give Echo the title of hacker and Tech obviously the brain. But I do like their dynamic because here one is a soldier that's put into a position where he's not much of a soldier anymore, and so he's almost like he's learning from Tech. But at the same time, I feel it's a two-way street. Tech is learning a lot from Echo as well. As far as like the hiding in the compartment above the ship, I felt like that was probably an Echo move. And so that, but yeah, I do like the interplay between these two, and I hope it continues to grow, but I also hope it doesn't take away from Wrecker, because that is a character who, and I know we're not talking about him right now, but that is a character who I've really come to enjoy. He's becoming more dynamic, and I think part of it was the crazy uncle. Yeah. Part of it was the fact that he was easily able to go undercover, and I love the hat that he was wearing and the plain clothes. And he didn't try to be like, he controlled himself.
He was
and
sweet.
He could play that part. Yeah. And so I seeing that dynamic in Wrecker. So I don't want to lose that, but certainly Tech and Echo are a cool partner pair.
So I'm going to put on my pedantic teacher hat for a second and say I don't think I'll ever be able to say that Wrecker is a dynamic character, but he's showing a few more layers for sure. Hamlet's dynamic.
Okay, I'll go with that. Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The light went off on my desk and said, Dan. Remember Hamlet, Dan? Yeah. So that's more of my problem than yours. I do agree, right. and I said that in the first episode, like when he is super sweet to Omega, but in the next round he'll like smash something and talk about blowing something up. Mm-hmm. I think that's fun, even if that's the teeter-totter that he rides on. I'm here for it because I think there's a lot of charm in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Echo and Tech are great because at first you're thinking, okay, who's the one that's an expert in technology? Well, clearly Tech is. We learned that Tech is able to process with its brain faster than most droids, which I think is really important. And I like the emphasis on being smart and thinking quickly, even if it is enhanced because you're a clone and you have basically a computer brain in essence, even though it's still organic. I love that. And I love that it's sometimes it's very easy to forget that Echo was a reg, or is a reg, is the term that they like to use. Because I just don't think of them as that. But I guess if you don't have a first name and we haven't spent a lot of time with you, it's easy to kind of let them all blend together. Because I agree with you. Even when I see the clones in these episodes that isn't our heroes, I think they're stormtroopers, even though they're wearing clone trooper armor. Yeah. And I think, I don't know. I just want to see, are we going to see a natural transition? Because at the end of the end of the final episode of the Clone Wars, we see Vader and stormtroopers. Yes. Now, obviously, Vader's had some time to become Vader, so who knows how long the time frame is there, and will we ever run into that thing where we see stormtroopers? I don't know, but it's going to be fun. So basically, we set up some great drama where they have to try to sneak off the island, and not the island, but the planet, Seleucami, and then Cut and his family and Hunter are going through the village and trying to get there, and they're waiting and waiting and waiting. Omega does two brave things in this section. First, she takes the what are they called? I can't think of the name of the data cards.
The chains, the chain codes.
The chain codes that's what they are, but they're on these little
data cards. I don't remember
we'll just call them data cards, and everybody can. You can certainly let me know, but I'll figure it out when I Google it, I suppose. And so she runs off from Echo and Tech. Certainly, you want to be safe, kid. You got to stay here, which is what Echo says. So naturally, she doesn't, and because that's what kids do in adventure stories. That's a classic trope as well. But neither of them seem that upset about that at all. Why do you think they're just not worried about her as far as they know she can take care of herself, or are they just so focused on logic and escaping that it just kind of escapes their minds?
I struggle with that as well. I think they I guess the way I made sense of it is that they thought that she would be able to handle herself. There was concern. I mean, we saw concern, but it was kind of resigned. Well, okay. I mean, they're also in a position where if they make any kind of move, they could be discovered and it ruins the whole thing. And there's another part of the family. There are two other kids that they have to protect. So I think it was perhaps a little bit of both. What can we do? A, and then two, well, she can take care of herself. At this point, she's proven herself. I mean, we've seen her use a pistol. We've seeing her use some strength or cunning to go through the tunnel or the air duct and then crash down. So they know she has the ability to handle herself. So I think it was a little bit of both.
I do too. So then let's talk about the end. As I said earlier in the show, the way they create suspense and tension, I think is really good. Even watching it multiple times, I still feel that tension even when I know what is going to happen.
Yeah.
So she gives him the cards and she says, "Hey, there's 5 cards here. Why are there 5?" And he says, "Well, I think you'll be safe with them." And the thing that moved me the most, and I'm going to guess that you'll feel the same way, is when she says, "Did I do something wrong?"
Yeah.
This rips out your heartstrings.
Yeah.
What did you think when you saw that?
Oh man. I mean, yeah, it definitely took me to the dad moment, when I mean, it's the innocence, and it's the, when a child thinks instantly that, well, they must have done something wrong. I mean, why would there be a change in plans unless they did something wrong? And yeah, that was really touching. But what I thought was interesting was how she didn't really argue with him.
No.
And say, now she makes a decision a little bit later to do something, but she doesn't, she goes with it and I think that's because of the respect. It's clear that she is not a vagabond. She's raised on Camino. She's raised to have respect, even though she is definitely an individual and has her own mind, but she also knows the line, at least, in initial instance. And so she says that, and I can't remember what is his response to that.
He says no.
Okay.
I thought, and it struck me so much because, this is a child who, we don't know what her full history is. Of course, she's very much an enigma, but it just sounds like a sweet, innocent thing a kid would say, that they would do anything to please their parent. Yeah. And there's there's certainly a lot of sad behind that, because they want to blame themselves, because in their mind, their parental figure can do no wrong. So there must be something wrong with me. They're just, like you said, that sweetness, that innocence, that I think is so endearing. It's so endearing. Yeah. So she acquiesces and he leaves because they basically have no time. They got to get off this planet. The Empire is very aware. It's still weird to say Empire when there are clones there. But the Empire is very aware of what's going on. And then Omega shows up, and we get a really, really nice reunion, some great fighting. Mason's favorite part, and he'll say this later in the show, is when Wrecker says, he yells at one hand, "Well, let's see, it's not here, and then he smashes all three of them at once. Yep. Yeah. He reminded me so much of Zeb in that sequence.
I was just thinking that myself. I think we've seen Zeb make that move before. Must be something when you got big muscles. Something I would definitely not know anything about.
Yeah. Side note. Well, side note. Mason and I had a big debate over who was stronger, Zeb or Wrecker.
Oh, that would be cool.
We ultimately agreed that it was Wrecker because he lifted the starship in season 7 of the Clone Wars. It's a Republic gunship. So I don't know.
True.
Either way, they're very fun. Yes, he sure is. I don't know. We're kind of going quickly over that because I don't really know what else to say. I feel like the key emotional beats are what goes on between Hunter and Omega. Ultimately, he agrees to take her along. I think he would have felt like a part of him was missing, quite honestly, based on their connection. But I'm so interested in Hunter. I can't imagine it will continually be focused on him, although I certainly wouldn't be sad because he's certainly my favorite member of the Bad Batch. But overall, I just really appreciate how they give him a role model who's a fellow clone, who's a father, and he is set up to be a father figure. And they all look out for her, but it's never like because she's a delicate little flower. It's because they're older than her and they want to protect her. They're like all her big brother. But she has shown, as you've said a few times, she can very much take care of herself. And I never really worry about her being in danger, except for when that Reek was there, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I feel like, because I like the way you said that, something about almost like they're her brothers in a way, and that's partly why I don't think I worry about her. because she's got Wrecker in the back pocket. She has Hunter, of course. And then, of course, there's Tech and Echo. But I think they drive the crew, and the other two watch out for Omega. And so, yeah, I didn't really worry too much. And I think the reason the Reek was so concerning was because they weren't there.
You know what I just realized? I pulled a Fen Rao. I've been saying Reek, but it's the Nexu. It's that thing that's the Nexu. So it's my fault.
Oh, that's right.
So I got to remember. Here's how you can remember, ladies and gentlemen. The Reek looks like a rhino, and they both start with an R. That's how I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. Mark that down. So it's the Nexu.
The Nexu, yes.
So if you caught my joke, the Fen Rao versus that was in the last episode that we had. So there you go. I believe Gar had a really funny thing he posted in the CWK.
Oh,
Cafe.
That was great.
Hats off, Gar. That was funny. Anyway, so yes,
funny.
The Nexu was where we felt the most peril. Is there anything else you want to say about this episode before we wrap things up?
Yeah. So are we going to talk about the climax where they actually? Yeah. Okay. Because here's something I found to be really not just cool, but really profound in a way. So we've seen throughout this entire episode how Hunter is kind of going through this metamorphosis of soldier and leader of this really kind of motley crew of like a guerrilla group. And he goes through this metamorphosis where he's showing care and compassion and trying to learn how to navigate this world of fatherhood, leader of a child or something like that. But what I thought was just awesome was in that final sequence when they actually have to fight. And there's a moment, a sequence where Hunter is kind of running through the crates of the launching pad or whatever. And he is so sharp to watch him, the juxtaposition of him being father figure to back to soldier in that moment. I thought he was even better. And I thought his senses were even higher. And I'm sure that's just completely in my head. But I thought it was really cool to watch that change, to see him go from one to the other, and to see maybe that's, maybe he's going to be able to manage that, and he's going to be able to juggle those two things and watch out for a child, someone that's going to be in his care, but also be the kick butt leader who can, handle dealing with regs and danger. So I really like that sequence. And I don't know if I'm being very clear about when that happened, but
no, I agree.
It's when she's discovered and kind of the whole plot is discovered of escaping, and he just kind of takes charge. And I just thought that was really, really cool. Oh,
brilliant. It was brilliant. Again, making it giving them more of humanity. I've been saying this so much recently about Star Wars, but it's the humanity in the characters that I find the most dynamic. So yeah, again, overall, a really fun episode. I'd certainly give it a strong A. The connection between Omega and Hunter, her reactions to nature and just learning to be a kid or to be a young child, or not just a young lady, I suppose. Just really, really cool stuff. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I was a little surprised there was no Crosshair, but I guess what are they going to do? Show him on Camino twitching his mustache? That doesn't make sense. I'm sure it'll come up later. We do know there are 16 episodes, so we've got 14 more to go in this first season, and I am certainly excited to see what's going to happen next.
Absolutely. This is a great ride. And I'm with you. I stick with my original grade, solid A. This probably will not be an episode we're talking about in, 6 weeks, but it's an episode that's necessary to launch a lot of different things.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
As we near the end of the show today, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a cup of coffee with me and for helping to spread the word about our Star Wars family we've got here at Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to tune in Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live or www.facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi and have a cup of coffee, tea, or any beverage of your choosing with me as we continue the conversation. To join us in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and share your Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place that is also drama-free, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community and be part of the conversation, talk about this week's show, or just talk about some Star Wars. We have a lot of fun, and you'll make some new friends, as well as catch up with longtime friends along the way. I also want to thank all of the new and longtime members of the CWK Alliance and let you know how much I appreciate your help and encouragement. If you want to join the CWK Alliance, go to www.cwkalliance.com and sign up today. Not only will you help out Coffee with Kenobi, but you also get access to CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. It's a great way to support and help out the show, and 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to support the incredibly important work they are doing to help these brave children and their families. Plus, contributors at the CWK All-Star level can watch a video podcast of CWK Pour-Over hosted by me, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions. In addition to being part of the community on Facebook, please don't forget to visit our website at www.coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and so much more. If you have a question for me or just want to share your thoughts on the air, feel free to email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com and I'll share them on the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Zaire, MRZEHR, or on Instagram at DanZareCWK. There are also a lot more ways to connect with me and Coffee with Kenobi on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi. Check us out on Pinterest or subscribe to our Coffee with Kenobi YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, you can find Facebook Live video, different interviews throughout the years, highlights of video coverage throughout the Coffee with Kenobi history, and the audio podcast itself. You can order my book, The Star Wars Book, which I co-wrote with Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo and Cole Horton, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million, Walmart, or anywhere books are sold. You can also find my writing on Coffee with Kenobi's website, as well as StarWars.com, where I am an official blogger there, and on IGN, where I contribute occasionally to articles about Star Wars, as well as other popular culture topics. If you are considering starting a podcast or a blog, let me know how I can help you get started and make your creative vision a reality. Be sure to check out danzmedia.com and we can get the process started. I am also available to come to your school, conference, business, or organization to talk about how to tap into your strengths and help you bring out your very best. I want to inspire you to be inspired so you can take that first step into a larger world. Thanks as always to our Coffee with Kenobi sponsors, especially MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, our travel partner and your one-stop shop for all things Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or anywhere on the planet you want to go on your vacation. Please go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel to book your magical vacation and help support Coffee with Kenobi in the process. If you like the show, please tweet out that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. And if the Force is especially with you, please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Every review makes a huge difference and helps to spread the word, and I can't thank you enough for your help, for your support, and your friendship. I love so much being a part of this wonderful Star Wars community, and I can't thank you enough for all that you do for me and Coffee with Kenobi. Yep, I was glad for the character piece as opposed to the heavy action, and I loved all the suspense as well. So, Tom, again, of course, thank you for returning to the show. I think it's fair to say that you're going to be with me reviewing every episode of The Bad Batch. We may occasionally have another co-host with us, but
absolutely,
this is a fun way to do that. Please let everybody know where they can find you and let them know about your blog.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, on Twitter, you can find me at Draftline, DRAFTLINE. That's probably the best social media platform to reach me on. And then, like Dan mentioned, I do have a blog that I've been writing recently. It is on Blogger, and it is titled what is it titled? Seeking Positivity in the Galaxy. Whew, boy, that was rough. But yeah, join me there. Let me know what you think, and certainly keep the Bad Batch conversation going on social media.
There you have it, the third episode of Coffee with Kenobi this week. Well, we had a huge week. We had May the 4th. We, of course, had our Facebook Live audio version, which you can hear on the podcast feed. If you can't catch the show Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, of course, you've got the video on Facebook, on Instagram, and on our YouTube channel. But we always leave the audio for you as well, so you can catch up on the conversation and interact with me and talk all about some Star Wars. Again, I hope you're having a great time watching the Bad Batch next week on Facebook Live, again on Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. You're going to get a chance to give your top 5 moments from both the original episode of the Bad Batch Aftermath and then the second one that we just talked about here, Cut and Runs. There'll be 2 top 5s, the price of one on Facebook Live. I look forward to that. And we've got a very special interview next week. Next week, by the way, is the 8th anniversary of Coffee with Kenobi. I can't believe it. 8 years of Coffee with Kenobi. We'll certainly talk about that a lot next week with a very special guest. I look forward to bringing that to you. Speaking of looking forward to it, before the show wraps up, I've got a little bonus for you at the end of the show where myself, Tom Gross, and my son Mason talk very briefly about the Bad Batch episode Cut and Run. So enjoy and have a great week and weekend, everybody. Remember, this is the podcast you're looking for. We have an extra special segment to discuss Cut and Run. Of course, I am still here with Mr. Tom Gross.
Well, here I am.
Here he is. But also with us is, if you ever watch our Facebook Live episodes, you know we have a pretty frequent guest collaborator. He is the junior executive of Coffee with Kenobi. I change his title all the time. Mason Z, welcome back to the show.
Hello, hello.
How's it going, buddy?
Good.
Good. So we just watched Cut and Run. What'd you think about it?
Pretty good.
Tell me why.
Because it was funny.
So you said earlier on that Wrecker is your favorite. Is Wrecker still your favorite?
Yes.
Why is he your favorite? Why is he funny?
Because I like when he says, "Oh, here are my code chains," and he's like, "Oh, it must be in this hand," and then he smashes their heads together.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Overall, how would you compare this episode to the first episode?
Tied.
Tied? Really? How come?
Just because they're both funny and silly and cool and tied.
Yeah. Were you sad that Crosshair wasn't in this one?
No.
Why not?
Because he's a bad guy.
Yeah, he's kind of mean. What do you think's going to happen with Crosshair?
No idea.
No idea.
What do you think?
I don't know. I kind of like not knowing. I try not to think about it. You'd think that he would eventually become a good guy. Maybe they'll figure out something with that chip, that inhibitor chip. So we've talked about Wrecker, we've talked about Crosshair, and I've been saying since the beginning that Hunter is my favorite. How do you feel about Hunter after this one?
He's either my second or third.
What do you think is different about him in this episode compared to the last one?
He's more like Omega needs a new family.
Yes. I think that's super important, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
How come?
'Cause you do.
That's a good reason. I mean, you'd hope that every son would say that about their father, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But also because, and Tom, you're obviously a father too.
Yeah.
I think there's something really cool about Hunter that happens in this episode.
Oh, I definitely feel like, what I was thinking was, in this episode, he seems so much unsure about things. Like he doesn't know how to handle this. In the first episode and in the season 7 of Clone Wars, he was always so sure about everything and very calm. And so this idea of having a child around is intriguing to him, but it makes him feel uncomfortable.
Right. That's true. And they very much, and I notice a lot with the music too, how they make sure to notice that this is light and fun, but there's some serious stuff because they're trying to make their family safe. So, what was your favorite part about this episode, Mason? Or did you already tell us? Is it when Wrecker says, I've got...
Yeah,
3?
I think so.
That's a good part.
Yep. And then one of your other favorite parts is when that reek shows up, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me why.
Wait, what?
Remember when that thing comes out of the woods?
I never said that.
Oh, I just figured you liked it because you like Attack of the Clones.
Well, I don't like that part.
Oh,
but it's still cool.
It is cool. What's cool about it?
It's very scary.
It is. I feel like there's a lot of scary, like when they're trying to get the chain codes on those chips.
Yes.
And it makes you like sort of tense, doesn't it? What's your favorite armor of all of the members? Not the characters, but the armor.
I like Wrecker's helmet.
That's your favorite? Mm-hmm. You know what I think my actual favorite is? I think I like Echo's armor the best.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
You and I alike. I think it's his helmet that I like so much.
Yep.
It's different than everybody else's.
It's like black, and it feel like you really couldn't hide if you were Wrecker, because it's very clear that you're clone.
You have a chompy mouth.
You have a chompy mouth. I think that's
right.
I should have put that in the Star Wars
like from
book.
Skylanders, chompies.
Yeah. I'm sure that would be approved. Well, is there anything else that you want to say about this episode before we wrap it up?
Any more questions?
Tom, do you have any questions for Mason?
Oh, that's great. Why? So I was curious, knowing that you like the reek. Okay, I know that's not a part that you feel comfortable with because it's kind of scary. But this reek looks a little different. I thought for a second there, I thought he had wings. What do you think? What is it about that? Why do you think he looks different than the one in Attack of the Clones?
Because it's a cartoon.
I wasn't even thinking of that.
Well, I thought he had more eyes. Does he have more eyes?
No, he has 4.
Is that the same?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But I just noticed that big tuft of scraggly fur on his back,
and it's on a different planet, so it stands to reason it might be just some sort of a different version. Just like in here, like in North or South America, there'll be different animals that.
I know what happened.
What?
It grabbed a chain cone from some other planet and traveled to that planet.
Maybe it did.
In a big ship, and everybody ran out of it, and they were skydiving.
That makes sense to me. I honestly can't think of a better reason.
That's perfect. I love it. A reek with a chain code.
That's very good. Well, I feel like maybe that should be the title of the episode, A Reek with a Chain Code. Well,
a reek in a spaceship.
That's right. Well, on behalf of myself and Tom Gross and Mason Z, thanks so much, everybody. Last chance. Anything else you want to say?
Tom, have any more questions?
Oh, my goodness. I don't think so.
Do you have any questions for us?
Oh, that's good.
What's your favorite part of the episode?
My favorite part of the episode is when Omega walks off of the ship and the sun hits her face for the first time when she touches the dirt.
That's cool. Boy, I haven't thought about a favorite part. Let me give me 5 seconds to think here.
4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up.
You know, every time so far we've seen a Bad Batch, it's something with Tech. I just love how Tech has the answers, and I think my favorite part of this, and similar to episode 1, is when Tech assumes that everybody already knows something. And in this case, it's the inhibitor chip. He says, well, I assumed everybody knew about the inhibitor chip. Yep, that's right. And I just, he's so far above.
Isn't it obvious?
Right, exactly. So,
like in the first episode. Isn't it obvious? Obvious? You thought it was obvious?
Yes, you're playing record there now, aren't you?
Yep.
That's good. I love your voices I think Dave Bradley Baker would like how you do that. He's the guy who's the voice of all the clones.
Yeah.
Say what?
Did you know that when he's recording these episodes, I learned this in the press conference, he just reads it straight through. He just keeps changing his voice all the time. I mean, it's not like they do different cuts or different takes. He just reads it through. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
That is cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, we better get going because it's almost bedtime here in the Coffee with Kenobi studios, isn't it?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So Mason and Tom, thanks again for joining me to talk about Cut and Run.
Of
You're
course.
welcome, Ma. Like the song from Moana.